Hello everybody and welcome to GrassRoots presentation and talking about this season's ACT, Aspen Community Theatre's production, and this year the musical is 9 to 5. And I think it's particularly apt that 9 to 5 is the show because when I first moved here, before cell phones, everybody's phone number was 925. I mean, isn't that how we chose this show? I'm Jeannie Walla, and I'm going to speak with 3 of the stars of this year's production and introduce you to the fun of 9 to 5 so that you'll run right out and get yourself a ticket. So first of all, let me introduce my guests. Starting right next to me is Amy Kaiser.
Hello.
And Amy, tell me what you're doing in the show.
I am playing Judy Burnley.
Judy Burnley, a very familiar character.
Yes. She is the housewife whose husband has left her for his 19-year-old secretary.
The rat.
I know. And she has to go to work for the very first time. So she's going into the office for the first time having absolutely no skills and no idea what to do or how to take care of herself.
Now, I know that the musical has more characters than the movie did. And is your character somebody that was in the movie?
Yes, the Jane Fonda role.
Oh, very glam. All right. And then we have Danny Grace Kopf.
Hi.
And Danny, tell me what you're doing in the show this year.
I am playing Violet Newstead, so that was the role played by Lily Tomlin in the original movie and Allison Janney on Broadway.
Oh, very zany.
Yeah.
Oh, I can totally see you in that role.
It's a dream role.
Is it? Yeah.
Absolutely.
And you got some fun stuff to sing.
Yes. Yes, and I get to perform with
Got a
these.
great dance number, too.
Ooh.
I'm really excited.
High kicks?
I don't know. We haven't choreographed it yet, so I'm really excited.
I'm excited to see it.
Yeah.
God, Danny, I have watched you dance since you were a kid.
It's true.
I'm dazzled by your presence here. I'm a little
Oh, you're so
starstruck.
cute. Oh, you're so cute.
And next to Danny, we have Katrina Clotter. And Katrina, you were in the Aspen Community Theatre production last year, and that's when we first met.
Yeah.
And why don't you tell me about who you're portraying this year?
This year I'm playing Dora Lee, which is the role originally played by Dolly Parton in the movie.
Wow.
Yeah. So I gotta try out my Texas accent a little bit. Gotta get that perfected before the show.
Just say y'all.
Y'all, that perfect. I've got it done. Y'all.
Y'all will be so good.
Thank you.
So 9 to 5, the musical, was written by Dolly Parton, the music and the lyrics, and the book by Patricia Resnick. And I'm just going to share this information about the show. It tells the story of a trio of women pushed to the boiling point by their boss in the 1980s business world. So it's not updated time-wise.
It is not.
So you get to wear into some 80s costumes. Very dynasty.
Yes, it'll be fun.
Big shoulders.
Oh, I
Likely.
hope so.
Big shoulders. And
Big hair.
for Katrina,
Big boobs.
big boots.
And big hair, I'm sure.
And big hair.
And
Big
big hair. Yeah. And then they had to plan to get even with the boss, and hilarity ensues.
It's true. And the musical is actually really true to the movie, which I think is one of the
Yeah.
most special things about this. Because as you know, a lot of times when a musical is made from an existing movie that everybody loves, they change it to update it or to, for whatever reason. But this one is super true to the movie. And it's just got the music added, which really does enhance it. And the characters you know and love and some of the lines you know and love are all there. And that's what, I think should be a real draw.
I'm
That's what
excited to
drew me
see
to
it. And I've never seen the play, but I haven't seen the movie, I think, since it came out. Which,
Time
now,
for-
do you recommend that people see the movie first? Do you think that would enhance their enjoyment or let them be surprised?
I think if you're the type of person who compares, maybe not. Like
Yeah.
maybe it's time for if you haven't seen it in a long time or if you've never seen it, maybe let us set the tone for
You
what it
guys
means
set the
for
bar.
you.
Yeah.
There you go.
But if
See
you
if
want
the movie is, positively compares.
There you go.
See if they did as good a job as you guys will.
Yeah, but if you
Right.
want to just get an idea of the story so that you know what's going on and you know a little bit of what to expect, then yeah.
Now, I've also, I want to remember to include this fact. that the show is PG-13.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so if you let your kids go see a PG-13 movie, even if they're 12, this would be appropriate. But it's not The Sound of Music. It's not a kids show,
Sure.
right?
Yeah, I think, it deals with the subject of workplace harassment, and there's not a lot of language in it necessarily.
There are a couple
There's a
S-bombs.
few moments.
Yeah, a few things, but largely it's some innuendo and things like that
Yeah.
are a little overt, but it's not over the top at all.
And so do you agree PG-13?
Yeah, I
Because
would say,
I know that people watch PG-13 movies in their house
Yes.
with kids who are not.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'd
Yeah.
say PG,
to
in
PG-13.
the to
Yeah.
PG-13 in the sense that PG stands for parental guidance.
Right.
I wouldn't be like, oh, send the kids off to a day at a matinee of a show. I would, if you have kids, go with your kids,
Right.
and kind of explain what misogyny really meant.
Right.
In case that's not in their vocabulary.
Yeah.
Right, let's hope it isn't. Right.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
why we're still kind of
Telling the
fighting
story.
for equal rights and kind of women's movement is still going, and what it used to be like.
And how about the fact that the Me Too movement is happening? I think that makes it particularly relevant.
Absolutely.
Yes. I think the story comes and goes and touches for each of us in a different way for maybe different reasons. But I think you're right. Without it being as serious as the Me Too movement, I think it addresses that issue and talks about women standing up for themselves and being strong in their own voice and their own career, which I think is super important.
And empowerment. That's really
absolutely.
I think the driving word behind this
Yeah.
show is empowerment. It's not overpowering. It's not,
Right.
Fighting. It's empowerment, and it's feeling that confidence and that ability to stand on your own 2 feet and
Yeah.
and know that about yourself.
And be strong.
Yeah.
Right.
Good. So let's talk about the dates, because I know that people are going to be wondering, where can I get tickets, and when can I get tickets, and when should I go? So will you guys pipe up and share that information? Katrina, what do you want to say?
Well, the dates are the 8th, 9th, and 10th. The 10th is a matinee, and then we also have the 14th, 15th, and 16th
Okay.
Of November.
of November.
And those are 7 o'clock evening performances.
Exactly right.
Yeah, except for the one matinee, which is on the 10th.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
so
at 2
that's
o'clock.
new for ACT this year
Yeah.
to only do one matinee.
Exactly.
So the other performances are all evening. So there's only one chance, if you're a matinee person, there's only one chance
come and see
on
the show.
Sunday,
Go
the
on
10th,
the 10th,
of
and
November.
don't expect it there a week later.
Correct.
Exactly.
We'll all be there tearing down the set.
Yeah, you can watch that. Now, that's
Yeah.
quite a show.
You can grab a hammer and help us
Yeah,
out.
do me a favor and wear your work clothes.
Yes, exactly.
Okay, and then Danny, why don't you share with us the phone number of the Wheeler Opera House?
Absolutely. It is area code 970-920-5770 for
Right.
tickets. And would you
How
like
much
me to
are
share?
tickets?
Tickets are $25, and they go on sale the week of October 7th.
Okay, great. And so if you didn't want to be on the phone to the Wheeler, how else could you get tickets?
You can go online to aspenshowtix.com.
Right.
So that's ASPENSHOWTIX.com.
Perfect.
And those will also be on sale at the same time.
Okay.
And I think you can also go to the Wheeler Opera House in person, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
You can be able
So if you're
buy
in
tickets.
town-
Isn't that hopelessly 20th century?
Yes. And there will be, of course, tickets available night of, but we recommend you buy your tickets in advance.
Well, especially because it's fun to sit in a good spot.
Yes.
Yeah.
That way you get to pick your seats.
Right.
Yes.
Right. What about the website?
If you want more information about the show, as we will be adding things throughout the rehearsal process, and that website is Aspen Community Theatre with an RE at the end.org.
And so can you listen to some aspects of the show on the website?
We don't have that set up yet, but we are looking at adding different things, and we'll also be updating our Facebook page with clips from rehearsals and other things that we're doing, so you can see kind of what we're doing throughout the process. So Facebook is probably the best place to see updates in the rehearsal process.
And you know what else? You can go to YouTube and hear the songs.
Absolutely.
Right? So, Katrina, tell us about the music. You said that you're playing the Dolly Parton character, so you've been hard at work writing songs, right?
Definitely, yeah. I just wrote all my music for the show. Actually, I'm just going to sing random stuff when I get up on stage.
Great.
No, the music is actually really wonderful. There is a country influence, but it really sticks by, traditional musical theater as well. And I think there's a moment for every large character in the show where they can really just shine and have their moment. And I think every song really comes from the heart, and it speaks to pretty much everyone.
You have a couple of those shiny moments.
So do you.
You have a couple really, really incredible songs that are just so much fun.
Yeah, I'm also jealous of their songs though. I wish I could sing their songs too.
Isn't that always the way?
Yeah.
And there's probably a guy song that you're thinking,
oh,
why
yeah.
did they give that to
Definitely.
a guy?
Yeah,
No fair.
Franklin Heart's going to be fun.
Oh, that one's
So,
going to be a really,
it's going to
really
be a good
song.
number.
Well, the second half of our show, we're going to be talking to the guys, and they'll get their chance
There you go.
to tell us what's what and who's who. And so now all of you are veterans of other community theater productions, and how does this one, if you can guess yet, how does this one size up?
So far, this rehearsal process has resonated with me in a totally new way. We've got this entirely new production team, and that's not to say that past productions haven't resonated, but there's just been something that's really flowed in a brand new way for this one. After auditions, our director had to go back to Kansas because she's a professor, and so with the first couple weeks we just did music, and then last night we actually got to read through and sing through the show for a second time so early in the process, and it really helps to kind of solidify the story and just the flow of the whole show already, so that we know what's happened and we know what's coming up next. And it's already been a lot of fun, and it's something that I really look forward to every night getting to come up. And I live down Valley, so that isn't always the case where you want to drive up to Aspen, and it
Now
really
you
has
do.
been this one.
Good. So if you're just tuning in, we are talking about the upcoming Aspen Community Theatre production of the musical play, 9 to 5, with music written by Dolly Parton and a book by Patricia Resnick. And the tickets go on sale on November 8th.
That's the show.
October 7th.
Yeah.
And the show will be performed at the District Auditorium and on November 8th, 9th, and the 14th, 15th, and 16th in the evenings at 7. And there's a mere one matinee, and that's on November 10th, that Sunday at 2. And tickets are aspenshowtickets.com or the Wheeler Opera House, 970-920-5770. And my guests have been Katrina Clowder, Danny Grace Kopf, and Amy Kaiser. Thanks, girls.
Thank you, Jeannie.
It's been fun.
Thank
I can't wait
you.
to see this show.
We're excited.
Stay tuned. I've got some more guests talking about other aspects of the show, and I know you're going to want to hear what they have to say. We'll be right back. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the second half of our program, Aspen Community Theatre's upcoming musical, 9 to 5. And we've got guests with us for the second half of today's show, including Travis McDiffett. And Travis, what's your role?
Well,
How many hats are you
many
wearing?
hats actually. I'm actually president of the Aspen Community Theatre Board currently. I am serving as a member of the production team that we now have that helps put together the shows, and I'm also playing ensemble and the character of Tinsworthy in the show itself.
Tinsworthy.
Yes.
Like the Tin Man?
No, he's like the big boss, the one above the everybody else who doesn't make an appearance till the very end, but he's got some interesting stuff to say.
I can't wait to see. And sitting beside Travis is the director and choreographer, Paula Maker. And Paula, welcome to the show.
Thanks. It's great to be here.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And so give us a little of your background, if you would.
Well, I'm originally from Buffalo, New York, and I traveled to Michigan to work in touring children's theater. Ended up going to some auditions in Chicago, and ended up in Wichita, Kansas, at the Crown Uptown Theater to play Miss Hannigan and Annie, and that's where I met Travis. And I ended up meeting my husband in Wichita, so I ended up staying. I currently teach at Wichita State University, and I find myself this year in Colorado, first to work with the Mountain Rep Theater Company in Cripple Creek, and now here to work with the Aspen Community Theatre, and I'm so excited. I love your state. It's gorgeous.
You're working your way west.
That's right.
Look out, Las Vegas.
Right?
And sitting next to Paula is Ben McMurray.
Yeah.
Any relation to Fred McMurray?
Fortunately, no, but he does get a mention in the show. So every time it gets me, I'm like, am I? No, I'm not.
Because he was one of my favorites.
Yeah.
I loved My Three Sons. And I loved The Postman. Oh, was it Double Indemnity?
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the one.
I know that because it's in the show.
And
Honest.
that was in the crossword puzzle yesterday.
Okay.
So Ben, tell us a little about your trail.
Yeah, so I'll be music directing the show, meaning anything that has to do, whether it's the vocals, whether it's, I'll also be directing the pit orchestra and putting together, I'm in the process of finalizing, putting the pit orchestra together right now, and we'll start rehearsals for that the couple weeks leading up to the actual production and the shows. So I've spent the last week and a half with the cast teaching it anything that involves the music, whether it's a one person singing their solo song on stage, getting them comfortable with what's going on with the music underneath, whether it's underscoring and figuring out these lines need to go right here because the drama of the music this has to line up just right. So that's one of the harder parts is working that together. And yeah, so I'm a pianist primarily. I'm from Ohio, Columbus, Ohio. Grew up there, born and raised. Graduate of the Ohio State University. And moved here about 2 years ago, a little over 2 years ago. From there, we kind of picked up, and in about 2 weeks, we were out here working. I was working for AmeriCorps at the time, and I still do work in the schools. That was what I was primarily doing, playing piano for choir programs and all that. I've been a little bit involved with Theatre Aspen, some of their conservatory productions, as well as with the Vaudeville and some other areas in the Valley. So it's great to be out in the Valley. It's very different from Columbus, Ohio.
I'm
It's a
sure.
little, not quite as flat out here.
Yeah, and I'll bet the rents are different.
Oh yeah, yeah, definitely.
Well, welcome aboard.
Thank you.
And,
Glad to be here.
Yeah, and so this is the first ACT show for you.
So since we moved out here, I've been involved with Spamalot and Big River in the pit orchestra as a member, not from the conducting side of it, but playing one of the keyboard books usually. Most musicals these days call at least for 2 keyboard books. So I've been fortunate enough to play one of those books with the shows, and they've been super fun productions.
Otherwise, you'd have to have 30 people in the pit like
I
in the
know.
old days.
Thankfully, I have to multitask a little bit, playing
Right.
oboe here and bassoon here and all these different things.
Exactly.
This year I get to
Exactly.
just play piano, which is nice.
Fun. So you've been enjoying rehearsing?
Oh yeah, it's been a lot of fun. The cast is so much fun to work with. The attitudes are great, and everybody's so engaged in the show already in just a week and a half of having the books.
It's a fun show.
Yeah, absolutely. The music is everybody gets their own themes and things. With Hart, who's played by Brandon Joseph, he's got this, kind of laid-back funk sort of stuff. Violet's got her driving rock. Roz, who is Hart's kind of love interest, he doesn't really know it. Not giving away
According
too
to
many
her.
spoilers.
Right.
Quick spoiler alert.
Might have some ideas, but Roz has some gospel numbers which kind of relate to that Hart kind of stuff. But the show is written in such a great way that all these themes come back and tie around. Even if it's just scene change music, you get these hints of this guitar is playing this funky groove and all these different things. So it's super cool. The music's been so fun to work with it.
Well, and the musical, when it was on Broadway, was nominated for Tony Awards
Yeah.
Correct.
in nominated for 4 Tony Awards in 2009, and here we are, 2019. And if we had Aspen Tony Awards, I can predict you guys are going to be nominated for a few. Wouldn't that be fun?
Fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Travis, why don't you talk about the nuts and bolts for a minute so that people who are watching and saying, I don't want to miss it, let me reschedule my vacation.
Right.
What should they
So tickets are going to go on sale the week of October 7th. You can either go into the box office in person and buy them, or aspenshowtix.com. You can purchase them that way, or they're, of course, available at the door, but I suggest not waiting so that you get to pick the best seat and not be sitting up in the balcony far away and not seeing what's going on.
Oh, I know every time I've done a musical, people call me and
Right.
say, I can't get tickets. Can you twist some arms? And it's like,
Right.
why didn't, I told you a month ago. Why
Right.
didn't you do what I told you to do when I told you to do it?
And also, it's been the last couple of years we've reduced from 8 shows to only 6. So there are only 6 performances. And this year we've reduced to only 1 matinee. So we've got evening shows November 8th, 9th, and 14th, 15th, and 16th. Those are at 7. And then we have 1 matinee on the 10th at 2 p.m. So if you're a matinee goer, don't think you can skip the first one and go the second weekend, because we only have 1 matinee this
And
year.
because there's only 1 matinee, that one's really going to sell.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
'cause
Especially for that crowd.
not just kids, but a lot of people like to go to matinees so they're not driving in the dark.
Right.
So, how much are tickets?
They're $25.
Okay.
And that's across the board. We aren't doing a children's ticket this time because it's not an adult show, but it's got some adult themes that we think for the younger kids, they definitely want to have parents along, or maybe leave the under 10 crowd at home, just because we don't want to stir up some conversations that parents aren't ready to have quite yet.
Yeah.
And it's not anything scandalous. It's just dealing with the male female dynamic in the workplace, and there is a little bit of even though it's not a problem anymore, there's some drug use and some other things that
A little innuendo.
yeah, and some innuendo and subject matters that might be a little more on the adult side of things.
But I cautioned people at the first half of the show when I had the gals here, the other gals. I was trying to make it clear that it's not a show for kids per se. It's not The Sound of Music.
Right.
But it's like PG.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
if you're letting your kids watch PG movies, they'll get a
They'll
kick
be
out
fine.
of this.
Yeah.
It's not a horror show. And it's
Exactly.
no nudity.
No.
Right. No blood is shed.
No bloodshed. no, well, none of that adult stuff.
Right.
But I think a lot of young people will enjoy it.
Yeah.
And especially because, Ben, talk for a minute about the music, would you? Just
Yeah.
like the Dolly Parton angle and...
Yeah, so Dolly Parton obviously kind of originated that role, and she kept kind of another, similar to Violet and Roz, as we were talking about. Dora Lee gets her moments. It's very, guitar based, bluegrass country based. So anytime she's on stage, she has I think 2 songs that I can think of off the top of my head that incorporate that, and it's just so fun to see. We're out of this scene, and we're quick into her scene of all of a sudden there's a mandolin playing or something like that, or a fiddle player kind of going on for all that stuff. So from that aspect, we have Roz who comes in with all that. Judy's very, her music, a lot of her songs that she starts, and the 3 ladies, Violet, Dora Lee, and Judy, have a lot of songs together where they're kind of shown, they come from these different backgrounds, but the music shows that they're all kind of related. They all have this feeling of, I've been kind of rejected, or I haven't been given the things that I deserve because of how hard I've worked. So the music for Judy is, it starts off kind of somber and almost like, she's kind of pondering, like, what am I doing? And she's kind of struggling to find her place. And by the end of the song, she has one great song towards the end of the second act called Get Out and Stay Out, where she realizes, I don't need, the husband that I had to be satisfied with my life and all those things. And the great thing about this, in the sense it's so music heavy, there's so many opportunities. You get all that through the music and not just through the dialogue. And it's also a very ensemble-heavy show. Of all the shows I've played for and been a part of, there's a lot of moments, just the ensembles on stage, whether it's off stage singing so much. It's a pretty difficult ensemble show. And we've been having a lot of fun with that. Just a lot of them singing, they come in, or they're moving around on stage, all this different stuff during the songs, and then they're out and then they're back in again and back off, and so their hands are pretty full.
And Paula, to be director and choreographer, talk for just a minute about that challenge.
Well, it's really not a challenge because I think of sometimes choreography, if you're doing a musical, it's an extension of the directing because a lot of the numbers have the action in them. So what I'm looking for is the through line in each scene. In other words, what's the main idea in this scene that I want to convey? And what's supposed to be happening in this scene? And how can I convey that not only through the text and dialogue, but through movement to tell the story of the scene? So I really feel like I have a little bit more control when I'm directing a musical, because many musicals are made, for instance, one I can think of right off the top of my head is Sweet Charity, that really requires a director choreography because there's so much dancing interspersed with the dialogue. You really need to treat those scenes as a whole. Does that, am I making
I'm
sense?
totally
Cool.
getting it. I watched Fosse Verdon. I get it. So, and Travis, this is what? How many of these have you been doing?
I think this is somewhere around 7 or 8. I'd have to actually
You'd
count.
have to look at some old programs.
Starting back in 2002 with My Fair Lady as my first show when I moved here to work for the Crystal Palace. Actually, Paula drove out here with me from our one of our matinee performances of Annie in Wichita to audition. He wasn't looking for women at the time, but she just wanted the experience, and so we have a long
Any
history.
chance you get to,
Right.
to strut your stuff in front of somebody who's hiring.
Exactly. Always audition.
I
Always
say the same.
audition.
Oh, unless you have absolutely no interest.
Right.
Because I also caution people about that. I think
Yeah.
that's the rudest thing you can do,
Yes, I agree.
especially when you get it.
The Wichita connection is really interesting because we're also we're renting the set for the show from Music Theater Wichita, which is also a production that Paula worked on while she was it a internship?
Right, I did
or
a directing observership at MTW that season.